Hey everyone! Greetings from Brno, here in South Moravia in the Czech Republic. We're still in the same situation as before, still quarantined, but there is some news on the horizon that some of the regulations should be lifting within the next couple of weeks. So we're all crossing our fingers, but at the same time, of course, playing it safe. So still staying at home. Here, we've got plenty of wine, so things aren't too bad for us here in Brno. But I'm here to bring a little bit of happiness to you in the form of wine, and of course from South Moravia, where else? So, talking a little bit about today's grape variety, Sauvignon Blanc. It's a grape that it's not one of my favorites. It's not something I will desperately be seeking out at the vinotecas or at the wine shops, but it's a grape that's very important here to the region and of course to the world. So Sauvignon Blanc is a grape that is native to France. Actually, it's native to the Loire Valley, more specifically in France. And if you've ever had a Puy Fumé or Sancerre, you are drinking Sauvignon Blanc. It then migrated down to Bordeaux, so if you've ever had Entre deux Mers or Cave before, you're drinking Sauvignon Blanc. From there, it took off. It is grown in New Zealand, of course, in Marlborough, where it makes maybe 90% of the production. It's grown in California, it's grown in Chile, it's even grown in New York, hey now. So Sauvignon Blanc is a grape characteristic of high acidity, nice citrus aromas and flavors. It can also have some nice mineral, kind of flinty aromas, depending on the soil it's grown in. It prefers a cool climate, like here in South Moravia. It's kind of perfect, right? So Sauvignon Blanc takes its name, sauvage being wild. Sauvage, of course, French translation, because of that reference to the leaves of the Sauvignon Blanc vine, meaning that they grow in a form that kind of plays reference to the wild grapevines that originated in that region. But Sauvignon Blanc is, like I said, characteristic of that high acidity, lots of citrus fruit aromas, sometimes a bit of a stone fruit or tropical fruit aroma as well. And it's a grape that if you're watching in Raleigh at Seaboard Wine, you're probably laughing right now saying, what the heck did the Czech Republic do to her? So we used to taste a lot of Sauvignon Blanc quite early in the morning. Of course, we were spitting. We're all wine professionals here. But Sauvignon Blanc with a lot of acid, a lot of methoxypyrazines, meaning that capsicum flavor that you get, this green bell pepper, this aroma compound that's natural to Sauvignon Blanc. For me, it just turns me off. I hate that capsicum bell pepper flavor. And, you know, those wines just don't do it for me. But when Sauvignon Blanc is done with small yields, when it's controlled on the vine, not grown in a sauvage or wild way, it can produce really refreshing, mineral-driven, crisp, citrusy wines that are the perfect complement to a really warm summer afternoon or a beautiful goat cheese tart. Interesting fact about Sauvignon Blanc too, it is actually the parent of Cabernet Sauvignon. So in the mid-1800s, there was a natural crossing of Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc. That created Cabernet Sauvignon. So the cabs you're drinking from Napa, you're drinking the offspring of Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc, in addition to those citrus and mineral aromas, it can give off kind of a vegetal or leafy herbal aroma, which I like. It's just when that aroma turns into that capsicum flavor that I just, I will politely just push it away. But thankfully, here in South Moravia, with these excellent wineries producing delicious Sauvignon Blanc, I'm really happy to show them here. And in fact, if you want to learn more about these amazing wines of South Moravia, you need to follow me on Instagram. And if you haven't yet, you need to go ahead and follow me. It's at Civil Wines. I've been starting this series called Moravia Makes Wine, where I interview either winemakers or those involved in the wine industry in this region to show that South Moravia makes delicious, varietally driven wines, terroir driven wines that are well reputed and worthy of attention. I think this region produces some excellent juice, and I'm so happy to be here to have these winemakers trust me and talk to me about their wines, their vines, and their fruit. So going into the first winery today that I featured this past Thursday on my Moravia Makes Wine chat is Sonberk Winery, one of my favorites down in Mykolaiv. So Sonberk Winery, they're located in Popice, a small village located in Mykolaiv. Sonberk Winery has been around since 2003. They've had the same winemaker since the beginning, and that is a lot to be said. A lot of winemakers will move from project to project. They won't necessarily stay with one winery for too long. Ulrich Drapal, winemaker at Sonberk, has been there since the beginning. He knows every vine, he knows every step in that winery, he knows every barrel, he knows every grape. So to have that consistency and longevity in a winery is so important. And Ulrich crafts these beautiful, really Sonberk-driven style of wines. They're elegant and complex and deep and textured, and I'm a huge fan. So going into their Sauvignon Blanc today, this is their silver line. So this is what we would consider an entry-level style of wine, but this is nothing entry-level about this wine. I love this Sauvignon Blanc. It really reflects that style from Bordeaux, from that Entre deux Mers. It shows that citrus character, a slight herbal character as well. Beautiful example of what South Moravia can do. This Sauvignon Blanc is matured in stainless steel, 12.5% alcohol, right where it should be. Sonberk Winery is a mid-sized winery. They produce about 150,000 bottles a year. So this is not a big factory winery pumping out wine every year. They have a small controlled yield. Like I said, they know every vine on that hectare. And that is one of the most important things in winemaking. Going into their Sauvignon Blanc today. Sauvignon Blanc, of course, has a very translucent color. You will not find a Sauvignon Blanc with a deep golden color. If you do, you may want to think twice about it. This one has a nice, like I said, translucent lemon color, slight green note to it too. Sauvignon Blanc, the grape itself, can have a slight green hue on the skin of the grape, hence translated into that slightly green color in the wine. But the nose is just bright citrus fruit, yellow grapefruit, kind of that pompello fruit, yellow lemon. It also has that dried herb quality that I like, this dried oregano, dried thyme flavor to it. But minerally and saline driven on the nose too, almost peppery as well. It's quite aromatic on the nose. But characteristic of Sauvignon Blanc, you've got that acidity, medium plus acidity, not cloying. It's not this peel the enamel off your teeth acidity like I was so used to before, but really pleasant, nice plump mid-palate, great citrus fruit. I mean, I could just picture this with some creamy goat cheese, some smoked salmon and capers, maybe it could hold up to a risotto. It could hold up to a heavier cream dish too. It's got that weight and texture on there. But what I love about Sonberk's wine, you have the salinity on the finish, meaning that saltiness, that saline quality you get is characteristic of Sonberk's wines because of this limestone bedrock under Mykolaiv. It's quite unique to this region and quite unique to Sonberk. But for an entry-level Sauvignon Blanc, it just shows this complexity and this beautiful texture, long finish. Great acidity. I mean, this is just summer wine. This is that, like I said, smoked salmon, goat cheese style wine. I dig it. So great job, Sonberk, as always. The next wine I'm going to be showing is also Sauvignon Blanc from Vinařství Václav. So Vinařství Václav is a winery located in Hustopeče. Their vines are actually located in Kurdyov, just the neighboring village, in the sub-region of Velké Pavlovice. So to backtrack a little bit, South Moravia has 4 sub-regions: Mikulov, Sonberk, Velké Pavlovice, Václav. There's 2 others, Znojmo and Slovatsko. But this one I'm going to be talking about today, I am a huge fan of Vinařství Václav. They are young, but they know what they're doing. So their first vintage was in 2015. So this is just their 4th vintage, but they have some magic behind them in the form of an Australian winemaker consultant, Mike Maisie, who has become a dear friend of mine. He's actually my winemaking teacher as well. I first met the director of sales and marketing for Vinařství Václav, Petr Čanašek, and Mike Maisie, their consultant winemaker, over a year ago now. So it's been a while, but they have been nothing but super generous of their time, and they trust me, and they've had my back since I moved here. They've invited me to competitions and these festivals and introduced me to amazing people. And I've been to their winery now 3 times, maybe 4 times. Interesting fact, actually, I saw this grape getting harvested in October. So I went down to Vinařství Václav to document their harvest, to see a typical harvest day in South Moravia. And I got to see the Sauvignon Blanc getting processed and get it going on the sorting table. So pretty cool to be able to see the starting product and now enjoying the end product in the comfort of my living room. So going into their Sauvignon Blanc, which I must also add, this Sauvignon Blanc has a slightly higher residual sugar, about 4 grams, as opposed to the Sonberk Sauvignon Blanc. And so what that does, it allows for a little bit more of a plumper stone fruit character to it. They actually do 3 separate pickings for this Sauvignon Blanc. So instead of just going through the rows one time, they do 3 pickings. And what that does, it allows for a little bit more of a complex flavor. In addition, 3% of this juice is matured in oak barrel. Again, adding to that complexity. A lot of that's, in my opinion, a little bit of Mike Maisie magic going on. He has consulted for wineries for years, and he loves blending components. We talked about this a lot during my winemaking lessons. And he has put all of his energy into making sure that Václav is successful. And with their lead winemaker, Petr, I think that they are. So going into their wines day, again, very translucent color, very typical of Sauvignon Blanc, very, very pale lemon color, slight green reflection as well. No particles or sediment in this wine. But a lot more stone fruit going on the nose. Apricot and peach and nectarine, bit of apple as well. There is almost like a kiwi note to it. And again, that citrus fruit is coming through, but much more stone fruit accented, much more so than the Sonberk. But what's interesting, both Sauvignon Blanc, both from approximately the same area, but done in very different styles. So again, pretty high acid actually. I would actually consider this a little bit more acidic, more medium plus to high acid. Nice concentration. Again, more of that peach stone fruit aroma going on. But I mean, this wine is just a porch pounder. Like I could picture sitting outside on a hot summer day with my girlfriends, chatting, just drinking this wine, maybe having some little salty snacks or something like that. I think it'd be perfect because it does give a little bit more residual sugar, a little bit more of that stone fruit. Whereas the Sonberk here, I could picture a nice Sunday afternoon with some smoked salmon and goat cheese crostinis, just kind of relaxing. But both excellent examples of Sauvignon Blanc and so incredible to see the contrast of what this grape can do without any of that horrible capsicum note to it. But I have something else up my sleeve that I'm very excited to show. So as a very, very, very kind gift from Sonberk, They gifted me something very special. And it's not Sauvignon Blanc, but I have to show it because it's too cool. This is Rudimentum. So this is their 2013 Rudimentum Riesling from Sonberk Winery. There is no label on this wine. There is just a little tag with a slight description of the wine and Olda's signature. So they've never made anything like this before. And I am so thankful that they trusted me enough to know that I would love it and to gift me this bottle. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So this Riesling is a 2013 Riesling. So according to Dasha, who I spoke with on my Instagram live chats this past Thursday, 2013 was a fairly cold, rainy vintage. And so they harvested their Riesling. And what Olda did, much to the mystery of the other people at the winery, he took the Riesling grapes and he fermented it in new, medium toasted oak barrels. And so after that fermentation was done, he racked the juice off the skin so there was no skin contact afterwards. And he then took that juice, put it into 2 separate oak barrels, and let it sit for 30 months. What does that do? It makes this beautiful color of Riesling. This is not an orange wine. This is not an extended skin maceration 3-month wine. This is just Riesling that sees oxygen in oak barrels, brand new, medium toasted oak barrels. For 30 months, for 2.5 years, these wines sat in 2 separate barrels. After he got the courage to figure out what he was going to do, he blended the 2 barrels together, put it into 1 stainless steel vessel, and then let it mature slightly longer to kind of blend the 2 components together, and made this beautiful Riesling. So I've had a lot of orange wine before. I've had a lot of natural wine before. This is not like anything I've ever put my mouth to. So this is still Riesling. This still shows this floral apple character of Riesling, but because of that oxidation, you get this madderized quality to it. So the nose is just like rum raisin and gingerbread and sweet spice and fig and chocolate and cocoa and salted caramel. I mean, for me, this is like smelling Cercial Madeira. I mean, if I was blind, and I would just call this Madeira. This wine is not fortified. There is no liquor added to this wine. It's 14% alcohol. It's quite strong. There is the alcohol on the nose, but it's just this spiced gingerbread rum raisin thing that I am just totally digging. But there's still so much acid on this wine. It is incredible. It is just juicy and green apple-y on the palate. How he managed to pull this off. This is the only vintage of this. There's a few bottles hanging out at Petit Cru. So if you know over the peeps over there at Petit Cru, give them a call. This is not your typical Riesling. This is definitely not Sonberk's typical Riesling. But if you are a wine geek like me, you need to check this bottle out. It is super cool, very atypical of Riesling. But if I'm going out with coronavirus, I'm bringing this bottle with me. This is one of the most incredible things I think I've tasted here in South Moravia. So thank you for trusting me with your wine. This is really something special, and I'm not letting my husband have any. That's how special it is. I let him have a taste, but the rest of it's for me. So on that note, sorry, Jim. That's okay. There's plenty of wine for you, but this is an Ariel special. So I hope everyone is staying safe, staying sane. If you have kids, you need lots of wine. I'm always happy to give recommendations. If you're not following me by now, shame on you, but better late than never. Go ahead and follow me on @CivilWines on Instagram and keep up with what Moravia is doing. I think this region is a gem, and I'm so excited to see what's going to be happening in the future. So cheers to Saturday, cheers to sunshine, and cheers to this quarantine, hopefully being over soon. Have a great weekend, y'all. Cheers.